All right, here we go. Just as promised, an update from our live video last night with Dr. King, here at Kern County Animal Services, 3951 Fruitvale Avenue. There was a dog that got a blood transfusion last night, and Dr. King is going to tell us all about it. How's the dog doing, Dr. King?
You know, we promised an update for you guys, and we just wanted to get on here and let you know that he's doing great! Look at him! Say what's up! Say good morning!
Hi, Augustus. How are you doing? Look at that tail's wagging just like he was.
Just like yesterday.
And the first thing people are going to notice, where did all the ticks go? Now, there's still a lot of ticks here, but you see a dramatic reduction in the number of ticks on this poor boy. If you're unfamiliar, you can go back to our live from last night. Look at how sweet this boy is, Augustus. So he does have he has several ticks left, but not nearly what he was dealing with last night. And,
the ticks are dead. Like, if you can zoom into that tick is still on him. Oh, not anymore.
Now, Dr. King, I'm sure that you saw in the comments, and we saw in the comments, a lot of people asking the question, like, are you pulling off the ticks, and why aren't you pulling off the ticks? And maybe you could address the tick question.
Yeah, so I am a picker. I would love to sit here and just pick all these ticks off. But what happens, especially when we have a critical animal like this, is you start pulling all these ticks off, and you have to think a little bit about the tick and how the tick works. And so in order for a tick to attach to an animal and to get blood from it, it has to release some chemicals or substances into the pet that allows them to suck that blood without it clotting. Okay, and so they have these like anticoagulant factors in their saliva that when you start picking all the ticks off, they're going to start bleeding a little bit, especially when you have a patient that is already anemic. And the vast number of ticks that were on him, then you could potentially make the situation worse. And
right.
So Jenny can attest to this. I still wanted to, and I did pick a couple off yesterday, and as soon as I did, they started oozing and, was releasing blood, and, it was just an instant reminder that that's not in the best interest of the dog. The dog was immediately, upon intake, treated for the ticks. So he was given fipronil, which is a generic frontline substance that was applied to his back, and immediately the ticks started dying. The way that product works is it works in the fat layer of the skin, so it does take a little bit of time. So in areas where there's not as much fat, like in between the toes, you can see all these ticks in here that are all dead. So all these ticks are already dead. So we did spray a different kind of tick killer in between his toes to kill all the ticks between his toes. So I would say 85 to 90% of the ticks that are still on him are dead, and they just haven't fallen off yet. And we're going to wait and allow those ticks to fall off on their own, because it's going to be a lot better for the dog. So he ate a little bit this morning. Yes, he did. Those were very nice kisses. Thank you. Which is a good sign. He wasn't really interested in eating yesterday, so the fact that he's wanting to eat today is good. His color is a little bit better. Still not great, but definitely better than yesterday. The good news about his blood, and I do think he's a fairly young dog, is that his reticulocyte count was very high. And what that is the body's ability to produce young red blood cells. And so his body is trying very hard to replenish the blood that the ticks have taken. So at this point, I think that he is doing very well. I do suspect him to recover. It is a little early because at this point he still is kind of working off the blood that we gave him yesterday, and we're just kind of waiting for his body now to respond and produce more red blood cells. Trying to think if there were any other questions that came up yesterday that I can address. The big one was that we treated him immediately to get the ticks off of him, and that it is better to let those ticks fall off on their own. Another thing to keep in mind is that ticks do transmit nasty diseases, And when you go to pull them off, it upsets the tick, and a lot of times they'll regurgitate back into the animal, and that's when they release those diseases, or at least higher numbers, because those tick diseases live like in their gut and in their saliva. And so let's be real, like, he probably is likely to have a tick-borne disease, so we'll make sure that we treat him for that as well. But certainly pulling those off, I'm sure you guys have heard, it can leave the head inside the animal if you don't do it correctly. Also, you know, the tick can regurgitate and kind of spread more diseases. So it's definitely better to treat the animal systemically or topically for a flea and tick preventative. I think there was a lot of people that were shocked that we would have such a bad tick problem like this in Kern County. And there are a lot of areas outside the city that do have high tick populations, and so the kind of environments that can house a tick. But the most common tick that you see on dogs is the brown dog tick. That's what the majority of these are. And this tick can actually live inside kennels. This tick can live inside, so it's not just a tick that you find outdoors in fields and in rural areas. Also, what happens is when a tick lays eggs, they lay like hundreds of thousands of eggs in one spot. Those eggs and those tiny little baby ticks are activated by movement and CO2 levels. And so they sit there and they wait for a host to come to hop on them. So if they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, they could literally get 1,000 ticks on them at once. And those ticks have to take a blood bath. They fall off, and then they'll grow to the next stage. The adult ticks are the ones that get, the females get super engorged, and they're the ones that they need that engorgement to produce eggs. So they'll fall off and lay eggs. So
look at how friendly this boy is.
He's very sweet.
He just came over.
Stressed here, so a foster home would be ideal for this guy. He needs his strength to make a full recovery, and the shelter's not exactly a fun place for most dogs, and the less stress we can give him during his recovery period, the better he's going to do. Yeah, he was a little bit apprehensive on a leash, but there, of course, was a lot of chaos at the time with other, dogs barking and things like that, and him being in a new place. And he's been through a lot over the last 48 hours, but you can clearly see he's a very sweet dog. He wasn't impossible to walk on a leash. He just took a little bit of encouragement. But now he's not ready to leave for a foster home today, but hopefully tomorrow.
This boy could be in a foster home. So, of course, our foster line is for dogs, 661-868-7130, or you can email dogfoster@kerncounty.com. That's how you can reach out to our dog foster team. And I'm glad that if you have any questions about ticks, I'm sure that Dr. King has answered almost all your questions. And if she hasn't, you can see she's super passionate about talking about ticks and regurgitating back into. So if you haven't had your breakfast this morning, this is the live to watch.
And Oklahoma State is where I went to veterinary school, and Oklahoma is considered like the tick capital of the world, and they do most tick research in Oklahoma. So I don't think you can be an Oklahoma State graduate and not be passionate about ticks.
And we can't forget about Royce, who was our blood donor. So Royce was the large cattle dog. What was he?
Aussie.
He was a mix.
Pyrenees mix.
An Aussie Pyrenees mix. So he is doing fine as well. But we wanted to give you an update on Augustus. Last night we mistakenly gave him the female name of Augustine, but he is Augustus, and he's a good boy.
The bestest boy.
Very friendly and doing much better. So we want to, of course, thank Dr. King for what she's done for Augustus, and also the medical team. Tap the like or love button for the medical team here at Kern County Animal Services. And, the point we made yesterday when we were doing the live video, what you saw with Augustus is not a one-off. This happens every single day right here in this room. Maybe it's a matter of dogs being spayed or neutered. Maybe it's a matter of a dog coming in with ticks, or Demodex or injuries or sickness. And this team here with Dr. King at Kern County Animal Services do everything that we can to give every dog the best possible chance and to save as many lives as we possibly can. So we are very grateful for Dr. King and her team, and very happy to see Augustus is doing so much better today. So many ticks are off. We'll continue to keep you updated on Augustus and his progress. And again, if you would like to foster him, email dogfoster@kerncounty.com, 661-868-7130. If you're a rescue organization, you know how to contact our rescue team. And so we will keep you updated. So thank you so much, Dr. King and Augustus. It's good to see you doing so much better today. So thank you for watching.